I declare the motion passed. Appropriation Bill 2025. This Council now becomes Committee of the Whole Council to consider the Appropriation Bill 2025. The committee will first consider the schedule and then the clauses, details of which are set out in the appendix to the script. I remind members that in the debate in Committee of the Whole Council, each member may speak more than once for a maximum of 5 minutes each time. And I'll propose the question to you that the sums for the following heads stand part of the schedule. Heads 21 to 28, 30, 31, 33, 37, 39, 42, 44 to 49, 51, 53, 55, 60, 62, 63, 70, 72, 74, 76, 78 to 80, 82, 90 to 92, 94 to 96, 100, 106, 112, 114, 116, 118, 120 to 122, 132, 135 to 144, 147, 148, 151, 152, 155, 156, 158 to 160, 162, 163, 166, 168 to 170, 173, 174, 180, 181, 184, 186, 188, 190, and 194. The committee will first proceed to a debate on sums for all the heads read out by the clerk, just now standing part of the schedule. Upon the conclusion of the debate, the committee will vote on sums for all the heads standing part of the schedule and then the schedule standing part of the bill. Mr. Louis Long. President, the Appropriation Bill 2025 covers 84 heads. I will only focus on heads relating to the real estate, 138, development, planning and lands. The government indicates that they will continue to proceed with the enhanced land exchange arrangement in new development area. I also noticed that last week there was an announcement that the government and landowners, having made discussions for a while, in Hong Shui Kiu, there will be the first in-situ land exchange costing about $1.6 billion. It's good news. I support the government's work in the new land exchange approach. I also ask the administration to bear in mind that from Sha Tin, Tsuen Wan, Tuen Mun, Cheung Kwan O, traditional new town development based on negotiations to reach an agreement on land premium with landowners. The enhanced version should not be an enhancement on land acquisition, but an enhancement in negotiation. When there is reasonable premium offered, then an agreement will be reached. I think if the government is pragmatic, if they are willing to negotiate with landowners, then there will be more successful cases of land exchange with premium paid. The Northern Metropolis will go ahead. This approach will increase government revenue while reducing expenditure in land acquisition. And there is also a proposed increase of $15 million of commitment in the coming 2 years. The Academy for the construction will continue so that governance and cost management will be enhanced. There will also be another allocation of $95 million, with the government shouldering half of it, so that part-time courses in the Construction Council Training Academy will receive subsidy. An additional 1,000 students will benefit. I ask the government to continue with this work to increase manpower supply. Under Head 159, from 2025 to 2026, the development will continue with the labor importation scheme for the construction industry. However, in the last 7 rounds, 163 applications, private contracts account for about 11 cases. Only 2 are eligible. Private construction projects also face a manpower shortage. We need assistance as well. So I asked the government to treat private projects the same as public ones. I asked the question that in 23-24, $30 million will be earmarked to conduct a study to build an advanced manufacturing institute in Tsingyi. The government's reply was that they plan to use a BOT, that is Bill Operation and Transfer, to run this project. They are ready to ask for expressions of interest with the tendering exercise starting this year. I asked that the project to be expedited so that the building will be commissioned as soon as possible, so that advanced manufacturing facilities for the construction industry will be ready. I speak in support for the inclusion of all heads standing part of the schedule. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. I speak in support of including 84 heads standing part of the schedule. I would also like to express my views on some of the heads. The FS in the budget mentioned about going at full steam on development through reform. I support that. And when the budget was drafted, the tariff war of the U.S. has not started. Now the situation is completely changed. The retail and manufacturing sectors face difficulties such as cash flow, and they sometimes had to take orders at a loss. Government short-term assistance will be most important. I asked the government to build in flexibility so that enterprises will be able to handle the changes. Under Head 152, CEDB expenditure, the government mentioned that they will continue to work with the Hong Kong Export Corporation to enhance export insurance protection. The direction is correct, but the magnitude should increase. Principal moratorium should be extended by another 12 months. SME suffering from short-term cash flow problems should receive loan assistance. But there is an alignment of insurance premium between new and traditional markets. I think the coverage should be extended to the Middle East and ASEAN to reduce the risk for enterprises to go global. Under the same head, the government plans to enhance policy work with the ETO and expand its network. It's very difficult for SMEs to fight for their survival on their own. I asked the government to organize more delegations offering a legal, tax, training, providing subsidies for SMEs to participate in fairs to help them find opportunities. Under Head 143, Civil Service Bureau, the government mentioned that the principal officials as well as civil servants will see a pay freeze. The BPA supports this proposal. Now we have a deficit. Government officials, civil servants will all work together with the general community. That is the right direction. However, I'd like to mention that pay freeze is only a band-aid solution. In the long run, there needs to be structural reform of the civil service. The government should lose no time to streamline the civil service and regularly conduct review on the establishment. They should learn from the private sector and introduce performance-based assessment. In addition, they need to make use of AI and digitalization. They can cut duplicated works and focus resources on livelihood and economic development. we now face with U.S. tariff war. The central government supports Hong Kong's measures to handle the situation. The hegemony of the U.S. will win no hearts. If the U.S. does not want to have a frank dialogue with China, if the U.S. would like to start a genuine dialogue with China, the commercial sector will play the middleman. I support the inclusion of the heads in the schedule. Mr. Michael Tian. I would like to first talk about Head 143, CSB. Expenditure on civil service pay is an important area that has attracted a lot of attention. We propose a pay freeze for 1 year. That's implemented, but there is still the increment point system in place. The secretary said it is not automatic. About 100,000 of the 170,000 civil servants have not reached their maximum points. Last year, only 21 people did not receive their incremental point. That means the passing rate is 99.979%. It gives the impression that the system exists in name only. I've been in management. I always think that if there's a passing rate of 70 to 80%, then that's all right. Well, through the incremental point, there is an expenditure about $7 billion. If 20% of them are not allowed the incremental point, there is a savings of about $1.4 billion every year. Well, given the current situation, we need to save as much as possible. The other is Head 186, Transport. Transport Department. I thank the government for taking on board our suggestion in relation to the $2 transport scheme. It's not about saving how much within a short time. The change should rationalize the scheme and make it sustainable, also addressing the problem of people taking long-haul routes for short journeys. But in order to save, then there needs to be action taken against abuse. Now, there are a lot of people abusing the system. No one knows how many of them there are. A lot of people beat their octopus card when it's inside the bag or a wallet. The MTR says that the MTR has about 800 turnstiles. There is not enough manpower to monitor the entrances. I think the penalty should be increased to about 3,000 to 5,000. When it comes to buses and franchise buses, the law can be changed to require drivers to ask the card holder to produce the card to show the driver. It will be an effective way to tackle abuse. However, the secretary said that there is sufficient deterrence in place. But how many cases are there that ends up in court? So with the Joyu card, how many prosecutions there are? How many of them have received penalties? How many of them have gone to the court? I'll only believe it when I see the figures. Now I want to talk about Head 147, that is the FSTB. The administration said that, bond issuance will reach 12 to 16%. Even when it's 16%, we rank out of 172 places after 168. That is the loan to GDP standing at 16%. If it's increased to 16%, then our position will increase to 165. Do you know what places are below us? Congo, Afghanistan. We have $3 trillion. For our country is 89%, the US 121%. We have $3 trillion in GDP, 60% loan to GDP, well, we will have a lot more if we raise the percentage. Then we can use the money to develop the northern metropolis, railway services. Well, the government can shoulder 70%, whereas the MTRCL will shoulder 30% of the cost. It will be cheaper with the project being completed faster because it will streamline the process. I asked the government to look into it, but I have not received any reply. We see that people are moved to these new places, but we don't see any railway development.
Dr. Lo Kwok. I, in general, support the passing of the Appropriation Bill 2025 and the sums for the heads read out by the clerk stand part of the schedule. But I have concerns about the increase of air passenger departure tax to $200. Let me first declare I am board member of the airport authority, but I'm not speaking only from the perspective of a board member, an airport authority. In fact, Mr. Rock Chan and another member and I wrote a letter to the financial secretary. We understand that the financial secretary face pressure, but the airport is an important core development engine of Hong Kong. With the commissioning of the 3-runway system last year and the promulgation of an airport city blueprint to develop airport into a world-class cluster. But faced with fierce competition, the airport is faced with many different challenges in development. We express concern to the financial secretary with the significant increase in the air passenger departure tax. It will widen the gap of taxes charged by airport and other airports in the region. That will seriously dampen tourists' incentives to come to Hong Kong. The financial secretary said he has no plans to delay the implementation of the air passenger departure tax. I won't object to the initiative per se. I just ask the administration to look into different measures to minimize the impact caused by tariffs. I believe the financial secretary will have more measures to encourage passengers to transit in Hong Kong, including waiving the air passenger departure tax for transit passengers that will be staying in Hong Kong overnight. I urge tourists to stay the night in Hong Kong to embrace the charm of Hong Kong during nighttime. Chair, I would like to say this also. When the government implements measures, they should always exercise caution. We want to make sure the economy recovers, but we also need to maintain our traditional advantages. We need to be innovative when developing new revenue sources. We should think about saving costs as well. And recently, the country lowered the minimum tax rebate threshold to $200. That is essentially 10% off. And we have also seen a cash rebate amount increase to $20,000. So with a slight decrease in tax revenue, it will motivate more to visit Hong Kong, essentially growing a bigger pie to tap into the relevant opportunities. I urge the government to do something similar. I so submit. Mr. Michael Tian. I want to talk about Head 60 Highways Department. We have 9 toll-free tunnels, but they need to be maintained. They also have depreciation, and every year it would cost approximately $500 to $600 million. We have the Qingshan Tunnel and Xingwun Tunnel. We are losing every year $200 to $300 million. If you're charging tolls, you would be able to make some money from it. We have been talking about the government operating on a cost recovery basis, but it is not consistently applied. We have instead gone for increasing the tolls of a tunnel that has not had its tolls adjusted for 30 odd years. So are you only adjusting the tolls of the tunnels that have not had their tolls adjusted for many years, or are you operating on a cost recovery basis? You have talked about different principles being adhered to, such as cost recovery or user pays. I just don't see a consistent approach. I don't even know what the government is doing. Can you rationalize your approach and talk about your rationale? I think if you follow my approach, you would have already saved billions of dollars. And the Central Wenchai bypass alone would have cost $40 billion. I think if you're charging tolls, you would have made a lot. It is about trying to achieve break even or even make money for future investments in infrastructure. I honestly don't understand what we have made from the investment so far. But let me say this. For the budget to develop tourism in Southern Lantau, I very much support that. I think you should go further. We should develop Sunny Bay and build a racing track there. Financial Secretary, let me say that we are going to develop AI much. There are 17 paragraphs of the budget on this, and I will propose a motion debate next year. Excuse me, Mr. Michael Tian, please do not go beyond the scope of discussion. We are talking about supporting the sums for the heads read out by the clock stand part of the schedule. This is not an extension of the discussion for the budget. I will end your turn if I find that to be the case, that you're going beyond the scope of the discussion. All right, I will start very soon. I just would like to express my support for the Appropriation Bill 2025, Dr. Junior's Hope. I will not go beyond the scope of the discussion, but let me say this. For the 84 heads measures, they are just a band-aid approach because we do not have something that can tackle the root causes of the problems we face. Say for item 143, there will be a pay freeze of civil servants. That is also a band-aid solution, and the figures may give us a wrong impression. We have now 170 to 180,000 civil servants. We have a pay freeze, but then there will still be pay increments. It would still mean for an increase in civil service expenditure. And in fact, during the clause-by-clause examination, the Civil Service Bureau actually provided a reply why there was still a significant expenditure in civil service, because it is simply because there are the pay increments. I think especially for Head 107, we heeded the Financial Secretary's reply. We have the operating account and the capital account. Excuse me, Dr. Junius Ho. We are not debating the reply given by the Financial Secretary. You are just talking about it during the committee stage, whether you support the sums for the heads stand part of the schedule. I do not support Head 143 because it does not offer a proper solution. Thank you. Mr. Yu Patlang. Thank you. I support the sums for the 84 heads stand part of the schedule. I actually wanted to speak during the third reading stage, but as Dr. Lo Wai Kok said, the other member would be me. The letter sent by him, Mr. Rock Chen, and me to the financial secretary, highlighting our concern for the increase in air passenger departure tax. I thank the financial secretary for giving a detailed reply just now on the exemption for transit passengers. I again say you are not supposed to discuss the reply given by the financial secretary here. This is not an expansion of the debate. All right, I will speak at the third reading stage then. Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak? If not, would public officers want to speak? The financial secretary, please. Chairman, I will give a brief response. On air passenger departure tax, we have referred to successful examples. Elsewhere, we have also compared our charges with those for neighboring regions. We believe the increase of $80 will not dampen the competitiveness of our airport. So also, as said, we will explore the feasibility of providing exemptions for transit passengers. Let me also say this. Last year, when we talked about imposing the hotel accommodation tax of 3%, there were concerns that this would harm tourism and hurt the competitiveness of hotels in Hong Kong. But as I said earlier, I quoted the figures of tourism. This has not impeded visitors' incentives to come to Hong Kong because it is a small amount of the expenditure of visitors coming to Hong Kong. And if we look at the hotel admission rates, we have a 90%. And on average, it's 80-odd%. This is unrivaled in other cities in the world. So, of course, those in the affected industries may voice their concerns. I think it is, however, more important to take an empirical approach when analyzing the relevant effectiveness of measures. I now put the question to you that the sums for the heads read out by the clerk stand part of the schedule. With those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. Declare the motion passed. I now put the question to you that the schedule stand part of the bill. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. I now propose a question to you that the following clauses stand part of the bill. Clauses 1 and 2. I remind members that the committee will now proceed to a debate on clauses 1 and 2 standing part of the bill. Members may indicate whether they support the bill as a whole in this debate. Upon the conclusion of the debate, the committee will vote on the 2 clauses standing part of the bill. Mr. Lewis Long. President, I hoped that the budget will benefit the citizens and the real estate industry that I speak on behalf of to help us rise up to the challenges ahead. In this year's budget, the financial secretary said in 2025-26, resources would be invested in capital expenditure in infrastructure to take forward projects in the Northern Metropolis, as well as projects that would benefit the livelihood of the people. In turn, that should boost development of the economy. We should also go digital to minimize the risk of going over budget and extending the projects beyond schedule. I think there is room for improvement, but I think the measures deserve our support. In order to meet the significant deficit, the Financial Secretary proposed in the budget to strictly control government expenditures and strengthen or reinforce the fiscal consolidation program. In last week's blog, the Financial Secretary said that he is confident that we will strive fiscal balance, and for the advanced GDP estimates for the first quarter, he is quite confident that the performance will be relatively good. I think citizens support that this should just be a short-term pain.
President, the Financial Secretary has put forward a budget that I can give my support to, and I believe that the public would also support the budget. However, why am I still not convinced? Well, in fact, Chairman, recently 2 eminent leaders in the community passed away, along with the tariff war. All these have made me realize that we need robust policies and the leadership of a forward-looking and visionary leader in order to instill confidence in the members of the public as well as our allies. We're able to compete with our counterparts because we enjoy the unique advantage of one country, 2 systems. We have a free business environment, and we also have a low and simple tax regime. In order to restore a balance in the fiscal position, we need to safeguard these 3 important things. A simple, low tax regime is what we have, and a progressive rate system for domestic properties will not have the support of members of the public and the business sector. I want the government to give an undertaking that we will continue to abide by a low and simple tax regime, and only by doing so will we have the trust of our people. I support the Appropriation Bill 2025, and I urge everybody in Hong Kong to stay united so as to tackle challenge and scale new heights. Professor Priscilla Leung. Chairman, I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2015. We face a huge fiscal deficit this year. Without compromising welfare and public services, I believe that the Financial Secretary has done his level best. Now the target is to cut the deficit by 2%. We have 8 million people in Hong Kong, and that means inevitably 160,000 people in Hong Kong will be affected. Now, in the process, the government should explain its policies better. That means we should stay united in tackling the fluctuations and challenges to be brought about by the tariff war. We have a very small boat in terms of the global community, and yet we practice one country, 2 systems. We have a free economy. We also abide by the low and simple tax regime. Now, in fact, we practice one country, 2 systems, and in the current environment, for our own survival and to meet our country's needs, we need to safeguard the existing systems in Hong Kong. Despite being a small place, we are backed by our country. We have a very vast market of 1.4 billion in our country. That is why we have good fundamentals. We should also be confident in ourselves. We should act prudently at the same time. And that means we should review our inadequacies For sectors that are not catching up, we should help them upgrade and transform themselves. We should expedite the commercialization of R&D results. In terms of the decision-making of government, we should also cut red tapes and also better align ourselves with the Greater Bay Area in terms of rules and regulations so as to boost economic development. While our country has become stronger, richer, and lifted itself out of abject poverty, this is due to the spirit of bravery and that we are not afraid of challenges. We grow stronger amid crises. Likewise, in Hong Kong, we started being a very poor place, and we've become the Pearl of the Orient because of the can-do spirit under the Lion Rock. In the face of unreasonable oppression from the United States, we must stay united with our country so that with unity we can safeguard one country, two systems. I believe that we will continue to fare better. We will be the freest, the most attractive investment base for our country, and will also be the gem of our country. I support the Appropriation Bill 2025. Mr. Perry, you. Chairman, I need to declare first of all that I am a member of the board of the Hong Kong International Airport Authority. May I say at the outset that I support the bill. This is crucial to maintaining government operations. So let me make my stance clear. I definitely support the bill. The Financial Secretary just now also addressed my concern on increase in airport passenger departure tax, and he's responded positively in terms of exemption for air-to-air passengers. A change will be made from same-day transit passengers to overnight transit passengers, and that's a change that our sector very much welcomes. The other point is that for sea air transit passengers, again, they will enjoy the exemption, and this is very important to the development of Hong Kong into an international aviation hub. Now, the Financial Secretary just now explained that the proposals will be finalized within this year. I support his work because this will be very crucial to the development of the aviation and the tourism industry in Hong Kong, as well as Hong Kong's development into an international aviation hub. The airport passenger departure tax will go up from $120 to $200. I think that this rate of increase is quite substantial. We're talking about some 60%, and this is quite high. So my suggestion is to go for a more moderate rate of increase, say increase the tax by $40 first, to make sure that we're able to attract sufficient visitors so that we have fully restored the sector's development before we conduct another review. Now, in the interest of time, I am going to stop here. Perhaps on the next occasion, I will further explain my position. I just want to give everybody food for thought because we've just commissioned the third runway system of the Hong Kong International Airport. We want to operate more flights and attract more visitors, and increasing the airport passenger departure tax at this moment may not be the most ideal. But anyway, I'm grateful to the Financial Secretary and his team for fully communicating with the sector, and throughout the process we have maintained a very fruitful exchange with pragmatism. We will continue to work together to enhance the competitiveness of the Hong Kong International Airport. And meanwhile, the government should also pay heed to the sector's concerns so that we have more transit passengers becoming overnight passengers. Dr. Junis Ho. I'd just like to make 3 points in this session of debate. This is about clauses 1 and 2 standing part of the bill. Well, I don't think this matters because I just want to refer to Basic Law Article 107. Now, we need to make bold moves because we're having too big a government, too big a civil service. The overall expenditure now accounts for 26% of the total spending. Now, that's a great sum. In 2022-23, the figure stood at $150 billion. And if we're able to drive it down by 10%, we could be saving $15 billion. So take 26% or 25% cut as an example, then we could be talking about some $25 billion. So we can't just consider the hard figures. Now, the financial secretary said that he has noted our concerns. Now, before we cut spendings, we must be bold. Don't be hesitant. Be bold. Imagine if you perform a surgery, you must remove all cancerous cells in one go. So that's a very clear stance for me. Does any other member wish to speak?
財政司司長。
Financial Secretary. Members, first of all, I thank the members who have spoken. On the competitiveness of our airport, I want to make just one point. We're not trying to be cheaper than others. Of course, cost effectiveness matters, but what we're trying to compete on is quality. We offer the services, the quality, and connecting flight. And that applies not just to our airport, but to the tourism sector as a whole. Just then, Dr. Junius Ho mentioned Article 107 of the Basic Law. I covered this in my speech, so I won't go through that again. What I want to say is that we will continue to work on this. The budget proposes trimming the civil service establishment. That's only the first step. We will explore other possibilities in containing costs. Thank you. I put the question to you that clauses 1 and 2 stand part of the bill. Would those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. All the proceedings on the Appropriation Bill 2025 have been concluded in the Committee of the Whole Council. Council now resumes. Financial Secretary. Sorry, President. I now report to the Council that the Appropriation Bill 2025 has been passed by Committee of the Whole Council without amendment. I move the motion that this Council adopt the report. I now propose the question to you that the motion moved by the Financial Secretary be passed. Would those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. Third reading, Appropriation Bill 2025, Financial Secretary. President,